All right, today what we're going to set up is something called PowerShell, and we're going to use that to SSH into our FreeBSD machine that we've created. What we want to be able to do is make a connection to the FreeBSD machine without having to use Hyper-V's window monitoring system. So we want to be able to just SSH into the machine, and then that will still give us access to the machine and everything inside of it. So this is a much better way of doing business, and this is also how you'll do business whenever you're out in the real world. You're going to use something like PowerShell, or you're going to use the terminal, and then you're going to SSH into machines that are remote. So whether you're using AWS or you're going to be using a VPS that is a virtual private server, which is available through another company somewhere. However you're going to do it this way. So this is how we get started. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to right click and we're going to choose start on our virtual machine. Now, if you look here, the state is listed as off, and over here on the right hand side you can see it says start down here, or we can do start by right clicking and choosing start. So we will do that. And down here you can actually see it has started the process of booting up the machine. Now remember, these FreeBSD machines are very, very compact and they're very, very fast. So you don't have to worry too much about how long it's going to take for this machine to get started and to get running. That's probably enough time. Now, previously, I was able to get the IP address for this machine. One of the options here is to go to settings, and then once you're inside of settings, you can go to network adapter, and you can see that this machine is using the default switch right here. So it says default switch. If we were to go over here to PowerShell, so switched over to PowerShell, you would be able to actually type in ifconfig and hit enter. And if we look up here, you'll see that the default switch that is being used is right here. And our system currently uses the IP address of 172.25.176.1. And back to, if we go back to Hyper-V, we can actually click connect. We will then connect to the machine, and we have a couple of options here. You can actually see the IP address that's being used right up here, but if we needed to, we could type in our username, our password. Now that we're in the machine and we're able to see everything that's inside of this machine, I'm going to type in clear just so that everything's up here at the top, and we will type in ifconfig. And once you type in ifconfig, you will see that the IP address for the machine is 172.25.188.220. So we have a few options here. We could write this down if we need to, but I'm just going to leave this running, so if I need it, I can come back to it. Okay, so the next thing that we want to do is we want to generate an SSH key. So we're going to type in SSH-keygen. We're going to hit enter. It's going to ask, where do you want to save the key to? You have to give it the entire location of where you want it saved. So we're going to do users, LOKOT, //.ssh / and then I'm going to call this FreeBSD-class.key. Enter. Hit enter again. We're not going to add a passphrase. We don't need the passphrase. If you wanted to have a passphrase, you're welcome to do so in the future. We'll hit enter. And now if we hit ls, you're going to see right here there is an Android, a .cache, and a .ssh. These are all hidden folders. So we're going to cd into .ssh, hit ls one more time, and now you can see there is a pub key, and then there is the actual legitimate key right there. So what we need is we need to transfer this pub key over to our system. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in SCP space. We can type in the word free and hit tab, and then hit period, hit tab again. And so now we can see that we have selected FreeBSD-class.key.pub, right? And now we're going to hit space and type our username. And then we're going to give it @ And then if you remember our IP address that we were using, we need that now. So it was 172.25.188.220. And then hold shift, full stop, colon, hit enter, and it's going to say, hey, you have never connected to this system before. Are you sure that you want to continue connecting? We're going to choose yes. And then it's going to ask for our password. So we're going to type in our password. And what we have done now is we have uploaded our password to the system. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to type in SSH. We're going to type in our username. We're going to give it an @ 172.25.188.220. We'll hit enter. It's going to ask us for our password right now because we're not done setting it up. And we're now in the system. So we're actually in the FreeBSD system. You can see that down here at the bottom. And it says Aaron J at FreeBSD-VM-class. And so what we'll do is we'll type ls, and you'll see that that pub file is there. We can do ls-lah. And what this does is it also shows us all of the hidden files. So there's actually no folder right now called .ssh. So we're going to make one. We're going to type in mkdir.ssh. We're going to cd into .ssh. We're going to hit ls. You'll see that it's empty. We'll type in mv for move, Mike Victor, 2 periods, and a /. What this does is it says, I want to access the folder in the directory tree directly behind me. So now what we're doing is we're looking in the home directory for our user, Aaron J. And then we're going to type in FREE and hit tab. That will do auto completion. Press authorized keys, just like that. So it's going to be move the FreeBSD-class.key.pub into authorized keys, hit enter. Now if we type in ls-lah, you're going to see there is some reading that is able to be done on this file. We actually want to fix that. And what we're looking to do is type in cd, period, and then we can type in pwd if we'd like. You can see that we're in the home Aaron J directory. And we're going to type in chmod space 700 space ssh dot ssh. So chmod 700.ssh, hit enter. And then we're going to do chmod 600.ssh / authorized keys, hit enter. And now we should be able to exit. And we can now do SSH-I, our key, and then our username at 172.25.188.220 IP address, hit enter, and it will automatically log in. Now you might be saying to yourself, well gosh, this has turned into a mess. Look at how much I have to type. Why are we having to type so much stuff? That is totally okay. What we're going to do is we're going to fix that too. Go to our directory, this PC, C, users, my account right here. We'll go into .ssh, and then we're going to go to new, and we're going to create a text document. This document is going to be called config. Now, the problem here is when we right-click on it and we go to properties, you're going to actually see that the type of file is .txt. And so this is not going to work yet, but we're going to fix that here in a minute. So we'll open with Notepad. And we have that right here. And now what we can do is we can type in our config. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to type in host, just like this. And then we're going to type in FreeBSD. We definitely don't want it to just do whatever it wants to do. 2, 3, 4. So we'll do 4 spaces. And then we're going to have to choose our options. And the options that we're going to need, the first one's going to be host name. And they have to be exactly like this. It's all going to be just like this, okay? So with our host name, we're going to go in and we're going to type in 172.25.188.220. User is going to be our user. 2, 3, 4. Port doesn't need to be added. We're totally fine with the way that the port is done. But what we do need is our identity file. And what we have to do is we're going to have to type in our identity file just as we see it whenever we're on PowerShell. So if we're in PowerShell and we type in ls or pwd, what we want is this section right here. So I'm just going to copy it and I'm going to paste it in here. And then I am going to add the backspace. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab the actual key name and we'll dump this in there as well. And you might see it go to another line. The only reason it's doing that is because I made it large enough for people to see. But what we want to do is we want to go to save. And then we're going to go back to PowerShell. This is the next big one. So we're going to go to PowerShell. And once we're in PowerShell, we are going to ls. And we're going to move config.txt to just the word config. So if we type in ls, you'll see that config no longer has .txt at the end. And what we can now do is we can type in SSH followed by FreeBSD, hit enter, and it automatically connects us directly into the machine. And so I can type in exit, type in SSH FreeBSD, and now the machine will allow us in using the SSH key as our method of letting the machine know who we are. So our authorization is now done directly inside of SSH using SSH keys instead of having to put in a password every single time I want to connect. I no longer have to do that. I just have access to the machine. So very quickly, just to recap, this right here is PowerShell. Currently, you can see that we are in the home directory for our FreeBSD user. If we would like to leave, we can type in exit, hit enter, and you will see that our connection to 172.25.188.220, which is our current virtual machine, has closed, and we are now back in our C directory for users, our username, and .ssh. If we type ls, you will see right here we have our config file, we have our private key, and then we have our public key. And then in addition to that, we have our known host file, and we have an old known host file. It is imperative that you protect this key. The public key can be given to anybody if you wanted to. It doesn't matter. The public key is not that important. There are some uses for it as well. If you wanted to give somebody this public key, you could do so, and then you could encrypt a file, and then you could send it to the person, and then they could unencrypt it using the public key. They can also encrypt files using the public key and then send those files to you. There's a lot of like nifty stuff that can be done with SSH keys, because really they're just encryption keys. That's all it is. We're just generating encryption keys that can be used for a host of purposes, but the purpose that we're using this SSH key for is we are using it as the authorization key to give me access to my system. So now I can cd and I can go back to my home directory, and you can see right here I am in my home directory. I can clear, I can type in SSH space FreeBSD, and I am right back into my FreeBSD machine. And then I can also type htop, and you can see right here I have 8 CPU cores, I have approximately 4 gigs of RAM, and I have 2 gigabytes of swap. And if we take a look at the processes that are running, we actually have relatively few processes that are running. Type clear, and we have now cleared out. So next time we get together, the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to sit down and we're going to change our shell. We're going to install something called Zeesh. We're also going to install a method for customizing our shell. That's going to be called ohmyzeesh. And then once we have done this, we're going to be able to start the process of exploring each aspect of the FreeBSD operating system. So I look forward to seeing you next time, and I will talk to you later.